Hey guys, this is Megan with Thousand Generation Farms. So last week Joseph put up one fence kind of on our grass of pasture ground for the goats and the cows. We have been talking about for a while doing rotational grazing, so we are trying to work on some more different divided fences tonight. We'll see how it goes, so why don't you come farming with us? Put it on the insulators, the yellow ones there, and then we will just come back and tighten the wire up. So this part shouldn't take too long. This portion of the fence is a lot like that. There's wire and post already done, so we just kind of have to tighten it and find the wire, basically. So Joseph found the wire sitting on the ground by that post, and he's pulling it now. Back here, so we actually, instead of using a corner post on this corner, we have a tree that we're putting the insulator on. You can nail the insulator to the tree, or you can just put wire around it and connect the insulator, and that's what we did. So Joseph doesn't want me to record it, but he's chopping down. Excuse me. He's chopping down some clover that is in the way of the fence. Otherwise, a lot of times we'll take the mower and mow before we run wire, or the weed whacker to get all the weeds, or just tall grass out of the way so that it doesn't basically, I can't remember the word right now, but it basically makes, if it's touching the wire when the wire's on, it'll make the fence less strong. And so we want to make sure nothing is touching the wire. Basically, a lot of times when the goats get out, it's because the wire's not hot anymore, and it's because a tree branch fell on it or something. So that's why it's important to check the fence. But anyway, so that's what Joseph's doing right now, but I won't show you. So you see Joseph, probably can't see the wire. The wire's kind of tangled up in our tree line, so just trying to find it, make sure it's not broke. And then we're gonna hook it up to that far T-post in the corner there. So guys, I am inside, and I had talked about rotational grazing, and so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit more, and how our idea with this, we were hoping would work out a little bit. And so this is kind of a really rough layout of where our pasture is. And so what we did here was we made a fence back here. Now keep in mind, this is our alfalfa field over here. So we made a fence here. It goes back by our bin site. And then, sorry, it's getting a little blurry. We basically went like this. And this was number one. We were trying to make 3 to 4 pasture sections that we could rotate our animals on because of the drought we're in. And then hopefully, if we have 3 or 4, well then the other ones that the animals aren't occupying will get a break in whatever rain we get, or we've also been trying to put a sprinkler system on our pastures as well, just to keep the grass growing a little bit. Hopefully those 2 or 3 weeks they have no animals on them will allow them to recover a little bit, so that we can basically continually rotate through these 3 or 4 pasture sections, and we don't have to sell our animals because we run out of grass, because we run out of hay. And so that's basically rotational grazing. Now, we had them here first. They ate this down in a week, which is so sad, but and I'll try and do this. I'm doing it one-handed. So basically this is our number 2 section, and they're on this right now. And this is probably a bigger area. It has some taller grass in it, but I think it's been about a week that they've been on that. It's already really short, so like maybe a week and a half. Then back here, this is our number 3 option. We're hoping to move them here, but this is probably going to be our smallest pasture area. So maybe a week total. Our proportions of our pasture area aren't very equal, but it's just because of the building site and the quality of grass, how tall it already was when we started doing this, like when we got our animals out of the feedlot area and onto grass. And then also just kind of from experience, what they eat fastest, or fastest is not a word, most fast, whatever you want to say. So this part, and it kind of goes back here a little bit. This is number 4. Now, I've talked about number 4 before. This is our best grass, but man, they like dig up the roots when they eat it. Like, when we first started and we put them out here, this was like dirt. So we've really been watering this. It's slowly but surely growing, but it was more of a thought of like, let's just do 1, 2, and 3 and have 4 as an option if we really need it. But like, let's work on just restoring the growth there. And I believe that Joseph even like scattered some different kinds of seeds out there. I'm not sure if it was brome or what, if it was some of that tough grass, I'm not sure, but just something to kind of help build that back up, because we're not even sure if we want our animals on that this year, because it's just they just like really tore it up by eating it in the past. And so like I said, we were here first for a week. Now we're here, this will probably be a week and a half. We have sprinklers going on here. We actually did get 20 hundredths of rain this morning, so praise God. We've actually had rain every week for the last month, but it's been like a sprinkle or less than a half an inch. So it's not like we have none, but a lot of times Joseph will say, like it rains, but you can't even tell that it rained afterwards because it's just so dry. And so the grass is growing, but I'm sure it's never going to be like super tall. It's probably, 1 week or less, for this pasture option. This one, 1 week to 1.5 weeks. I'm sure as we go, it's probably going to be closer to 1 week, just because unless we get a lot of rain, since they're here now, we don't have sprinkler going, but we will have sprinklers going. We're hoping to, like, once we move them on, keep sprinklers on the other options so that the grass keeps growing, like I said. And then we'll move them here probably, this next week sometime. So by the time they're done here and they're moving back to 1, this should have had, 2.5 weeks of rest. is that enough for grass to grow back? I don't really know, but we're trying to do this best we can. We've never really done rotational grazing. Last year we did cut it in half, but honestly, I'm pretty sure we had like 20 head of goats and our cows, and this year we have like 10 head of goats. So, and we're kind of in a drought. So we've definitely cut back on our animals. And I think we are going to be selling some more of our goat kids, so maybe that will help a little bit too. But we really just don't have a ton of like options for like feeding them big round bales, because we only have one left. It's only like mid-June. I mean, usually they're on pasture till late September, like around the time we're getting started harvesting. So like that's still 3 whole months. So who knows if this will work, but a lot of other people do it and they swear by it, and so we're hoping it works. If you guys have any advice for rotational grazing, let us know. If you have certain like grasses that you try to intermingle in your pastures to kind of help with drought, like if they're drought resistant, or even just to kind of, I don't want to say fulfill, but make your pastures a little fuller so there's more forage out there, you know, let us know in the comments. But anyways, yeah, so this is what we're doing so far. We're hoping it works. If not, we'll probably be selling some more animals, but we've seen this work with a lot of other people, not necessarily in drought years, but just in every, like the last 10 years, you know, it's just become really popular. So we're hoping it works good. Something else to consider is if you're doing rotational grazing and you have a building site there, obviously you need water for each pasture option, or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of times you need shelter. Now cattle are a little different. I know for our cows, a lot of times they're sleeping outside. They don't necessarily need shelter 24/7. So if they're on, you know, in the summer, if they're on an option that doesn't have, you know, shelter for them, it's not a big deal. Goats, on the other hand, they usually sleep inside. Ours do anyways. So it's kind of tricky. That's kind of why our pasture options aren't as like equal in size as well, because we had to make sure they could get back to the barn. We had to make sure they could get to a water source, which we only have a couple hydrants. We don't have underwater. We don't have the water tanks that are basically go underground and come up and there's water right there. We don't have any of that. We just have tubs that we fill. In the past, we have carried water quite a bit. But we knew with this is like, we just don't have the time to do that, to carry water every night to them, especially the cows drink so much. So those are some other things when looking at rotational grazing that are important. I've seen big cattle companies have like the same square footage pasture options, like 10 of them all in a row. Looks great. They have those built-in waters in each one. Obviously they don't have shelter because it's for cattle, but like it works really good if you have a good layout of land for it. But our layout of land is just kind of a goofy around our building site plot, and so which is way better than nothing. Thank you, Jesus, for providing. But so when we were kind of mapping this out, it was kind of like, okay, how is this gonna work? How are they gonna get back to the barn? And obviously another thing I was really big on was like, we don't want to have to move a ton of fence. Like if we're gonna make 1 to 4 options of pasture, we don't want to have to like move this fence in order for option number 2 to work. And so we tried really hard to make it so that we, you know, minimal work after all the fence was put up. And I think for the most part, we did what we could. There is there's maybe like 2 options that when we switch, we're just gonna have to move one fence, like just basically take it from a T-post and move it to another T-post, like the wire. That's really easy to do. But in the long run, you don't wanna have to touch those fences after you build them. So just some thoughts. If you guys have any other advice, I'm serious, I know I said this before, but let us know, because this is our first year really trying this. We've wanted to do it forever, but it's just hard to know how to do it, hard to make time to do it, but I know once you get it and you get it going, it works great. So anyways, that is all we have for you tonight. I really hope you guys waited and listened to this part as well, because this is kind of our heart behind the fence situation and the drought situation. And hopefully as years go on, we will be able to build on this and make it a better option for our farm and our livestock growing and stuff like that. And so anyways, yeah, thank you guys for joining us once again. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We got a lot of crazy fun stuff going on here at the farm, especially this summer, and we will see you next time on 1000 Generation Farms.